Welcome to Ask the Accountant, the podcast that is made for you. Weekly podcast live Mondays from 8:30 a.m., released on the podcast service of your choice on Wednesdays. Your main weekly hosts, Aaron, Patrick, and Johann. Got something to ask? Submit your questions below or ask during the show. Podcast loading. We are currently getting everything set up behind the scenes, so sit back, relax, and we will be with you in a few seconds. Enjoy.
Hello and good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Ask the Accountant, which is not on a Monday where it should be. We're on a Wednesday, so don't worry, we've not got the time wrong. But there's a very good reason why we've actually delayed today's episode and got it done today. Because today, I'm going to pass over to Johann in a minute, and he's going to explain why. Because yesterday was a very special day. So, Johann, we're not over Zoom today, are we? Which is another good reason for it. So, do you want to explain to everyone what's going on, why it's all different?
Yeah, morning, Aaron. We are live in person. We won't disclose the film set that we're in, but we are in person because we were both at QuickBooks Connect yesterday. We both had speaking sessions. We both then also ran QuickBooks Labs with Charlie and Ash, where we got to interview our first guests for QuickBooks Labs, which was very exciting. So if you've not seen that episode from yesterday, we were filming with Nick Williams, and we were filming with Chet from QuickBooks, and we had a chat with them about all the releases, their insights, the direction of the company, and it was really, really good, wasn't it? It was really interesting to hear from them and get the angles that they're going for.
Yeah, I think the object of today's episode is to literally give a behind the scenes, like go through, let's talk about the whole day. But yeah, spoiler alert, I'm ranking that as one of the best events probably I've ever been to. It was I think a lot of it's down to that fact it's great to be back in person, isn't it? And there's that buzz around it. But I think just the events, the whole kind of concept of it all, and the whole fact that we were ushered from room to room, and like, I don't know about you, Jan, but I didn't stop all day. It was crazy, wasn't it?
My feet are still aching, my throat's still husk from it. But yeah, it was an absolutely fantastic day. The energy in the room, people were loving being back in that space. They were loving being able to do the community. Look, we can do all the online events we want, and we can get all the information from those online events, but there's just no sense of community to that. So it's so much better when we can do it face to face. So yeah, no, real good energy in the room. Everyone was enjoying themselves. Everyone seemed excited about the releases. Everyone seemed, even if they weren't going to impact on them, they felt that the overall message coming from QuickBooks was, we're here to support the accountants, which I think left everyone feeling more positive and comforted. Like QuickBooks very much put an arm around us yesterday and said, we're here to support you, to support your clients.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think, not only did we have that like energy there and QuickBooks kind of showing us that, how supportive we are, but everyone else was supporting one another. It was that, when it's a very niche and centric event like that one is, we're all on the same wavelength, every single one, near enough is at the same point of their journey as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's just some that are maybe a little bit further than others, but we all have that same energy again, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that to me is what was really impactful, was how many people were just chatting about the innovations and everything else, and also trying to help one another. I always hark back to QuickBooks Connect was my first ever event, and I came away absolutely buzzing from it, and I've got that same buzzing even now. Yeah. How many events are we in now? Is it fourth one, fifth one? Fourth one, isn't it? And I think it just shows that the community, I think, is what really drives these events, and I think the community for QuickBooks Connect is absolutely stellar.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I never come away like feeling like I've just been sold to for 12 hours. I come away thinking, cool, there's some new features, but actually I've just spent the day listening to some fantastic speakers who've given me some insights, some nuggets that I need to take away and think of how I put that into my business. It's more about helping us to grow our businesses with the cool tools that are in QuickBooks, but it's not about buy, sign up. It has a different atmosphere to some of those events that you go to and they're run by one software provider, and you kind of get bored about an hour and a half in because it's the same sell message for the last hour and a half, and it's going to be like that all day.
And if you think about it, like, and this came up in the event, and we'll talk about the particular announcements all that later. But if anything, it couldn't be a hard sell because there was no prices being told. So
this is true.
How can you sell something we don't know how much it's going to be? So and I suppose a bit of that is a PR kind of move, isn't it, to always bring in the good news and make sure that we're kind of looking at the positives of it all. But the other thing is because again, you're right, they're not hard selling. It wasn't a hard sell.
It never has been as an event. It's always been an educational piece. So they've always focused on bringing the Carl Readers of the world, the Reza Hudders of the world, to bring in and give some genuine insight information to help you go back and do something positive in your firm.
Exactly. Right, let's roll those clocks back then to Monday morning. Even now, if like
Tuesday.
No, Monday for me.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Like this is it. Like thinking back of it, we've had a really amazing 2 day, or you 1.5, but yeah, we've had amazing 2 days. And you start all the way back on Monday. And literally for me, what I was able to do on Monday was actually go into QuickBooks themselves, part of the training team, and we're able to talk about and see the innovations that we're about to talk about in a little bit more detail. And just even that, just having that opportunity to be back in the office and see the buzz around the place. And for me, I think more than anything there was that real kind of, this is our time. We're ready for this. Maybe, if they'd have done this before, it would have been too soon because maybe there was still that lot of nervousness. Where I think this time round, they knew that the ducks were in order. They knew they were ready to go. And then we went for a nice little meal, didn't we?
We did. Had a very, very nice evening with a select bunch of QuickBooks firms, ranging. And what was really nice about it, it wasn't just the big boys, the big license holders. It was from like one of our regular viewers, Kirsty St. John. She's got a couple of dozen clients, but the QuickBooks saw the value in what she brings as a sole trader business to QuickBooks. So people like Kirsty were there, Charlie was there, Ash, yourself, training team, members of the QuickBooks team. Like, it was a very nice, 40, 50 of us?
Yeah.
Group of people that were there. We had a lovely meal in the Ivy. And then it kind of just set the tone right, didn't it, for the rest of the next day?
Yeah. And not only, like you said, we had the opportunity to speak to the other firms and everything, but I was just so impressed of how open the rest of the team were in terms of the QuickBooks team that was there. So we had the upper management. You had Joe Lawn was there. Let's try not to forget anyone. It was Joe Lawn. It was Nick Williams. It was Chet wasn't there, was he, at that point?
No, he wasn't at that event.
But there was
Dan, head of PR.
That was it. Yeah. And it was just, you were sitting next to them and just talking about it.
And they all made a conscious effort, didn't they? Because every so often they played round robin and they all got up and moved a table so that they all spoke to every table. I just thought that was really nicely done.
It was brilliantly done. And again, it was just great to kind of catch up with everyone and speak to everyone and have the opportunity to talk to everyone.
Oh dear.
We're now in the dark. So hopefully it's not a fire thing or something. We should be all right.
I think the producer might have knocked the light switch.
But yeah, it was such a like a well thought out event, wasn't it? So that was the
strobe lights.
Oh, maybe we shouldn't do this in person going forward. It was a lovely event. So then came the main event itself. We woke up pretty early.
Oh Christ, we were up early, weren't we?
Yeah,
we made it a long day for ourselves.
An early night either, was it? So not the best combination.
I mean, it wasn't a late night.
No.
It's
still
compared to others who were up till 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
We had a relatively early night. So that was great. But yeah, what was it? 6:30 breakfast for us, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
At the show for 7:30.
Yeah.
Because we had, we'll put some photos on social media and stuff later. And, we've got a video of us setting up everything. But Aaron brought his whole studio down and told us that's his travel studio. I think he lied to us. But we had all the gear to set up. We had the microphones to set up. So we got there for 7:30 to do setup. So we got there for 7:30 to do setup. We spent the hour, mics sorted, getting the cameras sorted, because we knew we had this podcast with the QuickBooks team. QuickBooks don't often send the likes of Nick Williams and Chet to do podcasts. And they, especially when they're live, like the PR machine that is QuickBooks would probably have preferred we weren't live. They would have probably preferred it was more scripted, but they were up for it. They were game for it. They loved it. But yeah, so that's 7:30 till 8:30, getting set up and ready to go.
Wasn't it amazing that seeing the queues out, because we were privileged to be like looking over the front doors, and there were queues forming, people wanted to come in, and I thought, for me, that was like the moment where, I'll be honest, it was a blur from that moment onwards. Like, we finally set up, we were ready to go. You could see those queues forming. Yeah.
Well, we spoke to the QuickBooks team that night, last night, and they were saying, look, we said we were going to open the doors from 8. We expected them to then drip in between like probably 8:15 and 8:45. And the closest we got to 9 o'clock, we were expecting waiting to get in at 8 to get back to that event.
The heat waves, wasn't it? It wasn't for it. So we kind of got ourselves set up. We did a few live tests on behind the scenes, and if you watched that one, which wasn't the intention, but thank you anyway. But we had a few kind of setups there, and then for us, it was time to kind of get to that main stage, wasn't it? And we were able to get a really good advantage point for it. Mining class was our compare for the day, as I suppose you would call it. I think our only, so we said this ourselves, and it's just, we've got to kind of accept that this is a privileged position we're in, but we kind of ruined it for ourselves, didn't we?
Yeah, we said, didn't we, that morning? It's like, we are those naughty school children that have gone downstairs, opened our Christmas presents, pretended that we haven't opened them, and realised that morning that actually we've ruined Christmas Day for ourselves. Because we're in the positions we're in, we do the beta testings, we're in the meetings, we're helping discuss and form direction of product. We knew what was being announced yesterday.
Yeah, because behind the scenes, again, we were wanting to help build the hype one. We wanted to make sure day in, day, like 10 o'clock onwards, we were telling people what they were and giving other options to kind of listen to what was being announced and more opinions, and try to build that hype. So it was like it was very professional. We were under an embargo and everything. We'd seen the press release. Like, we did feel like we were part of the media team. Which was really nice. It was surreal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was kind of a pinchy moment at that point. But so the announcements were there, and wow, like, I think, again, because in my head we kind of knew what these were. In my mind, I was expecting this big hurrah and these big shouts and these big like whoops and everything. We didn't quite get there, because let's be honest, we're probably not the target audience to be whooping and everything else.
Yep.
But it was so cool that after the event, like, there was, I mean, don't get me wrong, there was a a good like energy in the room, and it was good and everything else. But it was speaking to everyone after the event, of the sparkle in their eyes, seeing that they're going, you know what, actually, I can see how that's going to affect me, and we'll go into each individual announcement. But it was like, just the fact that every one of those announcements started a conversation at some point. And I think And that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the whole point of these announcements. And it just breeds that innovation. And there was people saying, oh, well, this particular announcement here, actually, I'm thinking about using it this way. And, well, I was thinking about using it that way. And then two people are talking together.
Yeah.
And the best thing was the product team was right there. So if there was that feedback, straight there, talk to him, get that feedback loop done. Very well done in that case. I thought,
completely agree. And even where they've announced something that people were saying, well, that's great, I'm not going to use it because I've already got this. People are like, okay, why? What's the benefit of using that compared to this? And there was genuine discussions between accounting firms of, that's interesting, we could really do with that, or oh, we do this that way. Oh, that's interesting. Like there was genuine collaboration, innovation, and sharing of best practices. So everyone kind of walked away feeling, yeah, that I've come away with something, whether it's from the speakers, whether it's from the amazing products that are being released, or if it's just the community.
Exactly.
Collaborating, sharing experiences, and helping each other problem solve and overcome the challenges. You know, we spoke to so many people, didn't we, on a one-to-one basis or two-to-one basis, who were like, oh, it's just so nice to be able to come and feel part of a community. Running a firm's so lonely at times. You know, like we've got loads of really positive feedback about episodes like this, where people are like, oh, it makes me feel like I'm part of something. It's an easy way to be part of that community. Like, I think the value people have now put on the community that these events provide has gone through the roof since COVID. I think people undervalued that community aspect before COVID. Now when we had that period of time where we didn't have this, people have really gone and reflected on that, going, actually, it's not the swag, it's not the food and drink, it's not the after party, it's not even the product releases, it is the community that we're really going for.
Agreed. And I think as well, like we said this, we're kind of jumping ahead, but we said this that on the podcast of Accounting Web, that for us time and time again now that there's a shift at QuickBooks, that QuickBooks went from being kind of accountant focused, and then they went to very much end user focused, and then we were told that they're coming back to being accountant focused, and we can only take them at face value to begin with, can't we? It's like, sounds great, you sound like you're telling us exactly what we want to hear.
You're talking the talk,
exactly,
but we'll wait for you to walk the walk.
Yesterday they walked the walk, and
they did.
Product announcements, bang on. We had, but that sense of community you just put on there, that's the secret sauce, and that's built because we're all passionate. It's the support they give us, it's the training, it's all the little bits that build that product all kind of come into one. And I think that's for me where I really did feel like today was nailing it on the accountants, the opportunity then to have more say in the product itself, which means ultimately we can make sure the product is better for the end consumer.
Yeah, and that's what Chet said, wasn't it, in QuickBooks Labs? I said to him, like, I can see how everything is now accountant focused this week. Like every release is every release today, yesterday was about the accountant. But as Chet said, by helping the accountants, it means they're helping their small businesses still, because they're helping the accountants do their job better and quicker, so that they can spend more time helping their small businesses. Which is just, it's a phenomenal message, and to actually see them deliver on it.
So for people who are commenting me, or actually, and everyone else who came up to us and said hello, it was quite humbling, wasn't it? With the it was
a bit surreal.
It was very surreal.
Someone asked me for an autograph.
Did you provide an autograph?
Yeah, but then I realised it was an invoice.
And a contract.
Yeah, I've just paid the bill.
Like Paul says, they're awesome event, lots of new friends, and to catch up with was fantastic. So let's go through those product announcements then. Let's talk about what was announced then. So the first one, if I can remember back at...
Are you going to do it in order?
I am. We're going to do it in order.
Okay.
We're going to do it in order.
This is almost planned and professional.
Almost.
We're definitely not podcasting live from someone's bedroom in a hotel basement.
Yeah. No windows, no anything. I mean, shout out to Joe Lawn's speech as well. It was very much a case of AI driven, but not AI driven just for the sake of, it's a fancy word, but AI driven to give accountants and us the opportunity to be more useful to our clients.
Yeah.
Which
this is the direction we're going in, and this is how we're utilizing the latest tools to be able to go in that direction quicker
and power the people to give them the more. And that, that's what we wanted to see. She mentioned about give you insights for forecasting VAT. Those sort of innovations are coming, which we look to do. One of my favorite quotes was train QB automatically to categorize similar transactions. We spoke about that in QuickBooks Labs before. We kind of saw how that aspect works, but that's what we want them to double down, don't we? So
I would say it's probably easier to train a dog to be house trained than it is to train QBO to get the transactions right. But that's just because there's so many varieties. Like Amazon, you're never going to be able to train QBO to process an Amazon transaction because God knows what they've brought. Tesco, Sainsbury's, haven't got a clue.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually, when something simple like BT comes in, then it's going to be one of a couple of things. So actually, it should be able to learn that.
Exactly.
You went to Costa. Well, that must be travel and subs, surely.
Yeah. And the way I always train clients and train other accountants is that's the noise. Like, you want to get rid of the noise.
Yeah.
Get rid of the noise. Let the computer, let the AI sort out the noise, and then the value we add and the value point, then they can decide about those critical. A quick list at the beginning of this part of the name.
QuickBooks is quick.
Faster CIS return submissions. Okay, yep, that's fine. Easier bank connections with app to app. We've kind of seen that already, haven't we? I don't feel like that was something new, but I suppose for the target audience, maybe they're not utilizing that, maybe not seeing the end to end.
But also, like, the problem with bank connections is there's only so much any accounting software provider can do. They are at the mercy of the banks that meets the legal requirements. Then that's all we can do.
Yeah.
If anything, what I always think would be real good for us to have is a comparison list. So clients normally ask us who's the best banking providers, QuickBooks or whoever point of view. So actually, that would be really valuable, and you can prioritize your recommendation based on that client's needs.
Exactly, like which ones are bank fetch enabled. Which ones that's going to be huge for us going forward, isn't it? Yeah. Shout out to Rochelle on this one. Extended VAT detail, VAT 100 and VAT audit reports. So Rochelle's someone who works at QuickBooks, who used to be a TWN member, and I know that was her little baby. So it was great to see.
Just break that jargon down for us.
TWN, a training writing network. It's one of the trainers at QuickBooks. Yeah. Great point. But I know, like, the VAT detail has always been important, and that's always been there. Now we've got reports we can use, and launch multi-currency feature. We go cardless. I mean, it was always API and connection and everything else, and as well. So it's good to see that there, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So like, they were kind of teasers, weren't they? They were just some. This is the few bits we're looking at. Then we roll out the big guns. Mr. Nick Williams comes out on stage in his QBO trainers. He was very proud of his QuickBooks trainers yesterday. He's finally started wearing them after he saw me around at all the events with my QuickBooks trainers on. Just setting the standard of fashion in there for QuickBooks. Don't know if that's a good thing or not, but yeah. So we rolled out Nick Williams, who went through 5 fantastic.
4 to begin with.
4, and then there was a bonus one. There's one last thing. He almost caught that, didn't he? He almost pulled it off. So resulted in 5 announcements. So let's go through the order of those announcements.
Yeah. So first one was practice management. Now, this was one that we kind of knew was coming anyway. It was one of those where there was rumors and talks, and it was, the thing. But I think it was a surprise that it was as fleshed out as it was.
Yep.
I mean, we can kind of see why, and we probably won't go into that part of it for today. But
and there's certain things we can and can't say under non-disclosure agreements.
Exactly right. But like what they're showing and what they're bringing in is something that is exciting. And I know, like, full disclosure here, obviously there's a bit of a, let's say, a conflict of interest.
I was just going to say, I have a slight conflict of interest here
on this podcast alone. But like, this is for me, and I've said this a lot now, like, thinking about it, looking at it, going to the demo, talking to it, having that opportunity the day before where I was given the opportunity to have a play with it a little bit more. Like, my first reaction is, I'm always going to love QuickBooks innovations. I'm always going to be one of the first ones to adopt. My problem being is I'm so far invested in my current accounts practice management solution. And even, yours, like, I would love to move over. I just can't at this point in time. I'm so invested, and that is such a big move. But what I keep thinking back to is actually how this solution, especially as it is now, there is an opportunity, and we'll be trialing it out, and we're going to be making sure you guys are going to be the first to know about it. But I do see a massive opportunity to this solution to be something you work in conjunction with your existing practice management solution. And I really want to try and find if what I think is written or what I think it can do is correct. I want to see how that's going to go. And then I generally want to like challenge the practice management solutions of the world to help integrate that somehow. Let's have those conversations, because all the will in the world, like every app out there, every one we speak to, all the vendors that we're always talking to, have got these amazing ideas and the space is huge with innovation, but we're still at that point where we're very, very much reliant on APIs and what data we can pass to one another. So I think I'm hoping this area here is an opportunity for us to start opening those more doors, because the amount of data that's going to come into that solution now is going to be something that is the next step for us as accountants, isn't it? How we process it. So what was your opinion on practice management?
So, as we said, I've got a slight conflict of interest, being an investor and promoter, client engager. I always put myself back in my own shoes 5 years ago when I go to these events. So 5 years ago, I went for my first ever QuickBooks Connect. I'd been in practice for less than a year by this point. And I always think, if I was back then, if I was just starting out, if I was in my first year, how would I feel about the announcements from QuickBooks? And I think as a starting out accountant or bookkeeper, I'd be excited. I think that's a real solution that was going to really help me grow and establish my firm. And I think that's ultimately the important part here. Like, yes, your big firms, even our firms, probably aren't going to use this in the same at all, or in the same way we could as the smaller firms will.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was starting out, I would argue this probably is the best software solution option on the market, just from what we've seen. So I could go to Sage, I could go to Xero, I can go to Free Agent, I can go to QuickBooks, and I can look at what they class as their practice management tools. Free Agent openly say we haven't got one. That's fine. Sage are looking at it and they're working on putting a collaboration of softwares together. Xero have had a practice management tool for a long time that is not been utilized. It's not been touched in years, from what I can tell. It's extremely manual. and extremely time consuming. And it's not very flexible or customizable. QuickBooks is by going, here you go, here's a practice view. This is not going to be a free solution from what we understand. However, we do not know what the pricing method is going to be yet. But as you said, practice management tool means they're going to have to develop their APIs better to be able to achieve that dream. The team at Client Engager are sat watching those APIs, waiting for new things to be added so that we can get straight onto that and go, right, this is a new API. What value does that bring to Client Engager and how can we utilize it?
Exactly. And that I think is where the excitement comes from, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of what we can do with it. Because, from my point of view, it's that missing cherry that we've been looking for. Like, yes, there are other solutions on the market. Exposition comes to mind, sort of idea, but they're limited because they can only go so far. They can only dive so much, bringing you back to the API issue. There's only so many APIs that they can look at. Whereas this is, inferring an unlimited insight into each client. And that gives us the opportunity to start looking at health checks and looking at how, problems for clients and being told about those problems, being proactive with clients and having those sort of conversations. So, yeah, I'm really excited to have a play around with it and see it and play with it. And I already know, like, speaking to the team involved with it, like their kind of roadmap for it is already in motion. And I think that's what we want to see. And if we think back at other innovations that have happened, then there's been no roadmap, there's been no continue to do that now. Like, if a new innovation, a new release comes mapped out to give you confidence further down the line, there's going to be something. And I think that's important.
APIs so that they can power their own practice management tool better. That take up the market. So as a accountancy manager looking at these APIs and thinking, what can we do? Even if they were, I don't think they'd react quick enough. Whereas like like Client Engager, we know the moment there's a new API, within a week or two, we can have that kind of API linked and working and an interface and pulling that information and value through, which gives us, as a dynamic new startup, the opportunity to kind of upset that space even further than we already are. So whilst everyone's like, oh, is this going to damage Client Engager's market space? Well, actually, no, because if it's going to give us more APIs, actually it makes us even more powerful and disruptive than we already are.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's loads of positive spin from every angle on this.
And I think that's where, I think out of all the changes of all the announcements, I think that was the one that was the biggest change of opportunity. And I think that's going to hopefully shift the tides for us in our favor.
Yeah.
As people who want to help push the industry forward, and especially for likes for you, we're trying to make the software that is wanting to push it forward. I think this is the change of tides which we need. Okay, so that was practice management.
Yep.
Then we moved on to QuickBooks Advance, which for us probably not. It's not targeted.
It's a reminder.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's nothing new since September.
Some people in that audience have never heard of it before.
No. Yeah,
so
no, completely right.
Yeah, we had a guy in my session. We had a guy who said, what's this QuickBooks Advance all about, sort of thing. So it's still not it's not mainstream yet. There is still there. Yeah. So it was great to go through. It was kind of a reminder. All I'd say to people out there, if you're still on the fence of QuickBooks Advance, is use it in your own firm. Like that's. We've done it in Bofix, we have it running in Bofix, and we're using the automations, and that's when it's opening those cogs and getting those cogs spinning. And at that point, then we can go, right, actually, this is what it's useful for and go forward.
Yeah.
I mean, they showcased multi-business
reporting.
Probably that was a bit of a PR spin, if I'm honest. If I'm going to go critical, that was the one that was, very...
Yeah, it wasn't quite what they say it is.
So we got a whole video on that one. But let's move on to the other big announcement, which is books to tax. So it was coming for a long time.
And they've been very public about this. They did their first kind of demo of it back in May last year at Accountex. I have to say the product that we saw yesterday, and we've seen recently in various things, is completely different to where it was in May last year in so many positive ways. It's outstanding. Again, for your small startup accountants and bookkeepers, this could be revolutionary. We were chatting to your friend last night, weren't we? She's got a big firm, and even she was like, "This is a game changer for us." So FRS 105s to start with. They will expand that eventually. But when I think back to starting out and stuff, that would mean I didn't have to use Tax Filer or whatever other tax filing software I was using at the time. So yeah, it's a big one.
Built from the ground up.
And it's built from the ground up. They've not someone that tried to plug it in and then spent 2 years trying to work out why it doesn't work. They got so far, the likes of yourself and myself went in and we were quite critical of it. So they kind of took it back down and built it back up again. But my God, the improvements they've made are just phenomenal. Like, there is a genuinely viable product there, and we're going to be able to go out and use that to a whole new level of effectiveness.
Exactly. And it pushes more people to use WordPaper as well, which, again, feedback from my speech, my talk, my breakout room was WordPapers. I don't use that. Why? What is this tool? And again, we get to push people more into it, showing what it's about, and that's a good thing, because that efficiencies. We were the biggest advocates for WordPapers when it first came out. You even publicly said that even if they're on Xero or any of the new phrase FMS now, we don't call them bookkeeping solutions. So what was it?
Finance
FMS?
Management software.
Not sure that's going to catch on, but
no,
we'll play with it. We'll try. But when we got that FMS test you're on, you've got the opportunity to you use it for everyone, don't you? Like, you don't mind. You'll just bring that TB in, and you want consistency. You want that efficiency. You want to be working with it. So, yeah, I think that's a huge acceptance. So, yeah, I've had a chance to play. I've already released a video of kind of going through the book to tax. Unfortunately, the account side wasn't fully accessible at that point, but I've gone through the CT600 side of things. And as soon as the account's one there, we've done there. And, I'm helping to develop the training for it now for QuickBooks. So I think that's exciting. They know that let's hit the ground running on this one. Let's make sure we show it in its best light. And it's going to be exciting. Again, maybe not for you and me just yet. Maybe.
Well, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
I am ready to migrate my clients from our accounts and tax filing software, as many as possible, to do it through QuickBooks. Like that one-stop shop. I'm a big fan of that concept.
Yeah, I agree. But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll keep pushing it. I feel like we've missed one, because the next one I've got on here is the fourth one. What have we missed?
Payroll.
Payroll Bureau. Oh yeah, it's because I didn't take a photo of it. That's why it was. Payroll Bureau. So, I mean, like, we can talk about this a lot, can't we? But ultimately, what they've done is they've taken the existing payroll advance, and they've given an opportunity for you to access it outside of QuickBooks if you need to, on a much more client basis, meaning that you can have automations in there. There's a better pricing structure for it. And their big, like, game changer opportunity, which we love, is the fact that FMS back to FMS again. Doesn't matter what FMS you're using. Let's call it bookkeeping. Doesn't matter what bookkeeping solution you're using. Xero, Free Agent, I think it's all of them, isn't it? Sage. Then this payroll solution will work kindly with them. So
yeah, it posts all the journals to them.
Exactly. So I was on the fence, but I think I've made my choice. I think I'm going to go give it a go and play for it.
It is a direct competitor to BrightPay. I think it is a concern for the likes of FreshBooks. Is it FreshBooks? Who am I thinking of? There's a new payroll company out there, payroll bureau software out there.
I'm blanking.
FreshPay.
It might be, yeah.
But it's a direct challenge to pretty much every bureau product on the market.
Yeah.
And it's a real kick for the likes of Xero, etc. Because ultimately, now it doesn't matter where those clients' payroll bookkeeping is. You can run it off a QuickBooks payroll software, which is game changer to the market.
Yeah, I think it's FreshPay.
FreshPay, that's the one.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Exactly.
And they didn't disclose pricing, did they?
No.
But the gossip, the rumors on the ground floor of the exhibition were, it is going to be competitive.
brilliant.
Extremely competitive.
That's what, that's
like,
the same rumours we've heard. Yeah,
we've not had a pounds and pence sign next to it, but my understanding is it's per business, not per employee, which means it'll be averagely like in line with others when it comes to like a sole director payroll. But if you've got 5, 10, 20, 30 payroll employees, it is going to be extremely aggressive in its pricing for that, which is interesting. They've obviously seen the size of that market and they've gone, yeah, we want a bigger slice of this pie, and we're going to be disruptive about it.
Yeah, completely. And I think like I was dismissive at first, and this is the whole point of these events, isn't it? Like,
yeah,
we get to talk to the people behind it, to the reasonings. And my biggest criticism of the whole payroll bureau to begin with was, why are we not looking at the basic payment, the standard payroll, whichever the other version, the non-advanced one is?
Yeah.
Because for me, I still feel like that is a better, or not better, but that would make more sense for some of my clients in comparison. But actually, why limit them? Like, advanced is so good. I mean, you made a great point about how, because of the automation in there, then actually for that extra pound more, whatever the cost point's going to be, you gain that back anyway. So it's and we shouldn't be looking at this from just purely price. For me, I was just looking at it from a overkill, especially when you clients maybe to run their own payroll or something. Yeah. But I suppose, again, this bureau solution isn't for that, is it?
No.
You can still activate in QuickBooks. That's not going away. So I think my mind has been kind of put back right on track. Now I understand why it's advanced, what's going through there. And we also know behind the doors why as well, don't we? Which is important. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a go. I think we're gonna trial it, go push it through and see how it goes. Timing's not right, is it? It's
not ideal.
Yeah.
And to be fair to QuickBooks, in theory, the timing shouldn't be an issue. Like, it shouldn't be such a headache to move clients from one payroll software to another. The headache normally comes at the risk of HMRC. HMRC see something going through on a different payroll software. They go, oh, second job, emergency tax. It creates a hell of a workload for us all. So maybe HMRC needs to be more adaptive and understanding that we want to move software providers every now and then. And it shouldn't cause us headaches from their end. But yeah, so this is going, May, I believe they're going to take it kind of to the public. I think there's going to be some beta testing in April. It's a bit too late to the game for this year, but I'm very excited to see what happens for the next payroll year. But what was very interesting is how many big firms that were in attendance yesterday were saying, yeah, we're moving. We're going to make that move now. This was the deal breaker. This is what's finally got us to go. We're going to go cloud. Now, how much of that comes to fruition once they get back to see Sandra, who's 65, done payroll for the same way for 40 years and doesn't like change, has anything to say with it. But maybe she's about to retire, and that's why they suddenly can change things. If accountants don't like change, then payroll people bloody hate it, from my experience, and everyone tells me. But yeah, I think that's a real, again, it's industry disruptive.
Yeah, I completely agree. And then the final announcement, Pro Advisor program, the new Pro Advisor program. So we've already kind of spilt the beans on this one, haven't we?
Yeah, it got launched softly a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly. We've been promoting our badges. We've been trying to kind of push that forward. I'll say selfishly, it's a great thing. It's just from a training opportunity in terms of what we can then look at training. We weren't allowed, but we didn't have the opportunity to train before. It's huge for us. Hello, everybody. Okay, so yeah, we've had an internet problem here. We were going to close it down now. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to make sure the content gets recorded at some point in time. But yeah, thank you, everybody, for listening. We got pulled off at the wrong possible time there. So yeah, Johann, do you want to say goodbye to everyone?
Thank you very much. Goodbye from Aaron's bedroom in a basement hotel.
With no internet, no windows, no anything else. Cheers all. Thank you very much. And next 2 weeks are going to be a little bit different than normal, as Johann's enjoying his holiday, much needed rest. So we are definitely going to be doing something next week, but we'll keep on the socials and let you know what it is. Thanks, everyone. Been great, been wonderful, and we'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.